The 16th annual Brockville Rib Fest in support of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Leeds Grenville is set to run from August 4th to 7th in Hardy Park. The free, fun-filled family food festival will feature the Howard Travel Rib Eating Contest, the Keystorm Volleyball Tournament, Lift for Kids' Sake, a Kids Zone, and more. Musical entertainment will include Absolute Journey Tribute, Loon Choir, Helian Orr, Eve's Daughter, Mark Bergman, the G-Men, and more. Food will include mouth-watering ribs provided by 8 Ribbers, bloomin' onions, funnel cakes, deep-fried curd, and more. The 16th annual Brockville Rib Fest in support of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Leeds Grenville, August 4th to 7th at Hardy Park. For more information, please visit brockvilleribfest.com. Sponsored in part by Hometown TV 12.
Hi, I'm Dave Henderson, Mayor of the City of Brockville, and this is Mayor's Corner, and it's sort of like a mayor's rant this time. Sort of like this hour has 22 minutes, but with less comedy and less impromptu stuff, and probably less good. But we'll see how it goes. So we're going outside today to see a little bit what's happening outside in downtown Brockville. And just up the street here, I don't know if you can take a look, look at just up the street here is where we're doing construction projects, fixing up Victoria Avenue all the way through, because at the top of Victoria Avenue is the Wall Street Village project. Been on the works for almost 5-10 years now, and we're getting so close. And the volunteer groups and the nonprofit groups from Margarita Village and the Wall Street United Church and from the Roman Catholic Diocese are all working together, and the United Counties, to try and make a seniors project up at the top of the hill with 80-some units. So this is a good project, big project. Construction's about to start. City is fixing up the roads and the pipes in the area of it, as well as putting in a community improvement program that applies. This is good stuff, and it's about to get going, we think, this year. But as we know, with all big projects, they take time. So let's take a look down the street here and see what we got. Hey, because we got people waving at us, and that's always important. But the big thing to note is, look at this King Street area. Oh my God, we got flowers, we got trees, we got people, we got crowds. That's incredible, because, you know, when somebody comes into this area from far away, it's, you know, we're almost like we're in Newfoundland. It's from afar, the boys from afar. But when somebody drives through on King Street and Highway 2 in the summer, you know what they see? They see this. They see this incredible downtown. It's vibrant, it's got people, it's got traffic, it's got cars, it's got all kinds of things happening, and it's exciting, and it's good to see. And you know what's funny is, the biggest challenge you've got is that it's hard to find a parking spot, which is because it's busy. Yeah, so you see how these problems tend to circulate around. So we're doing things for parking. We've done some temporary parking downtown beside the rowing club, Reynolds Park, and we've got parking all around the aquatorium, which a lot of people don't realize. There's parking inside the aquatorium. There's some 45 spots inside the aquatorium. If you drive right up the ramp, you're right at the door to the restaurant, you're right at the door to the aquatorium, and it's right there. And if you drive around the aquatorium to the front of the building, to the front of the Tall Ships building facing the water, there's another parking spot there that the city is actually renting from the Fuller Group, and it's paid parking so that you can go to the waterfront, go to the aquatorium. So this is another good thing, there are more parking in the area. We also moved people from the Water Street parking, a lot of people that work downtown, to open up spots on the Water Street parking lot, which is right by Blockhouse. That's a lot of parking we're trying to make open and available, and make sure that people, when they come into town, have a place to park so they can go and see things. So let's go for a walk, see what's going on. See, over here to the side, we got the farmer's market, and that's pretty good. This is a Thursday. Now the big day is Saturday, but this is a Thursday. Did you know that this is the oldest farmer's market in Canada? When we opened it earlier this year, they told us that. It said it's open even older than the ones down in Halifax and those places. That's pretty impressive. Probably continuous running, but still pretty impressive. The farmer's market is at its peak right now in the last 10-15 years. They've been growing steadily, getting more people in, adding food that you can eat right on the spot, adding kiosks where they do gifts and that kind of thing, wood. That's important, and they still maintain a rule that half of the kiosks have to be food products. So no matter how many more they add, half have to be food, because it's a farmer's market. So we're pretty proud of that. It's growing fast, and the guys that are running it are doing a heck of a job. So, what else have we got? Well, let's take a walk down here and we'll see. Hey, we got people waving at us. This is important. So, if you can see off in the distance, you're going to see Blockhouse Island. And you see also, through the trees, Tall Ships Landing. We're pretty happy that's up and running and it's open. One of the luxury exclusive condominiums in the area. We've got a couple other projects that are on the go. Condominium projects are long projects though, because they take a lot of planning, a lot of development, a lot of investment, a lot of sales before they go forward. So we'll keep trying on them, we'll keep pushing them. And the reason for that is because Brockville, especially the downtown, has to become denser, more people living downtown, because the city itself is closed in. It's a 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer area. So if we're going to get growth at all, we got to pack them in more. We got to get more dense. We've got to get more residential apartments and more condominiums. And in the waterfront downtown area, because the retail section is changing and retail is moving into the box stores more, yeah, it's got to change. It needs more people living here, and it needs a little bit more tourism activity. So the aquarium, which is just over there, that's part of that tourism activity. And the tunnel, which we're pretty happy to say, the tunnel volunteer group, the committee, they've set up an operation, a storefront down on King Street, because the money's coming in. People are donating money, government grants are falling into place. They're going to get the tunnel open this year. So 2015, well, I should say this year as in for the 150th anniversary. So 2017, should say. Yeah, so within a year. And they're going to get the tunnel open. We're going to be able to cycle through it. We're going to be able to walk through it. We're going to be able to take tours through it. And it's going to be open and part of our trail system for Canada's 150th anniversary. So that's pretty exciting too. So there's a lot of good things going on. Maybe we take a walk and we'll see what's going on as we talk. Because last time we talked about some of the things that are really happening in Brockville, and we know the OPP costing is going through. And again, we still have a little bit of problem with that in that it's not really fair, or at least the way the information's coming out. Because there is a protest group, and I call it a protest group all the time, that is trying to block that costing process, putting a lot of information about what can and can't be offered, and yet we haven't got that information yet. So I'm going to re-emphasize over and over, you know what? Good government means finding answers, finding information, having good discussion, and that's what we're committed to in the policing process. There might be a different way to do policing in Brockville. There might be a more efficient way, and we might get more services, or we might not. But we don't know until we get the information. And when we get the information, and it's in front of everybody, and we can have the facts, then we can have a good discussion. So you know what? We're going to keep hammering on that look, we're going to try and modify when we see comments come out that either incorrect or are hyperbolic, that kind of thing. We're going to keep hammering away on the idea that we're committed to get the information about OPP police service versus our current Brockville police service, and we're going to compare the two, and we're going to compare the costs, and we're going to see what the best choice is for Brockville. So yes, we will keep talking about those things because it's happening now. So that's one good thing. Big thing we've got coming up now too is you're going to see the water down here a little bit further on. Well, the St. Lawrence River is a big part of what we do. St. Lawrence River is Brockville's identity because we're on the St. Lawrence. We were built on the St. Lawrence. And this fall, we're going to have the Tall Ships Festival again. The Tall Ships Festival, well, that was big because I don't know if you remember this, but the first time the Tall Ships Festival was here, it was so big that all those restaurants on King Street ran out of food. And you couldn't even get a coffee in some places. And there were lineups like you wouldn't believe because, it was such a success. There was a mini version of it about 2 years later. Not quite the same product. But the one that's coming back this fall in September, first or second week of September, that's the big show. That's the big group of tall ships. That's the show that's going up the lakes and then back down the lakes. And there's only about 5 stops or 6 stops on that entire route. We're one of them here in Brockville. And part of that is we're going to get a military ship in that's so big it can't even dock in Brockville, and you got to get ferried back and forth to the ship. Well, I've never been on one of those military ships, and that is a first for our area. So it's nice to see Canada's military, our Navy here, and we're going to get a chance to see it. And interestingly enough, I talked to somebody down at the Tall Ship store, April, and her husband, Gord, and Gord served on that ship. Well, that's a coincidence. That's great. It's good to hear. So, what else is going on, Brockville? We're just starting the summer right now. It's only July, but we're already starting into the festivals and the bike tours that are coming through the city. So you're going to see bike tours coming through. There are bike tours that are 200 cyclists at a time that are actually coming through downtown Brockville. One of them is the Cycle for AIDS program that's coming through, and every year that's a highlight of the city because they're a little eccentric. They dress up in costumes some of the times as they're coming through. But those cyclists are important to us because they stop, they eat, they see our place. And like the festivals, when you see the place, when you see Brockville, you come back. We get people moving here that come here for festivals, go through on bicycles, and see the place. And their impression almost all the time is, wow, what a great place. Look at this place. Look at the history. Look at the services they've got. Sometimes you need to go away to someplace else to realize what you have. And we've got some pretty good stuff here. Sure, we got challenges. We got issues. We have to get development. We're still working on the business development park up in the north end. We're still working on getting more tourism product. We're marketing the tourism product. And we've got different groups. We've got a waterfront group that's looking at what to do on the waterfront, how to make it better. Everything from more bathrooms to better shrubs, better trimming, to developing entire areas like the Reynolds Park area. What are we going to do with that? So that committee's meeting, they're trying to draw up their plans, they're trying to draw up short-term, long-term, all those strategies. In the meantime, we keep working away. We try to find out what's going on. We don't always get it right, but you know what? Look at this place. Even these things like the shrubs and the streets, you know, they try to make it better. We try to put in more trimming, make the trees grow better, keep it all trimmed up. But an interesting thing was, and I remember an old CAO telling me this once, is that sure, you can add parks and you can add trees and you can add street lights and trails, but every time you add something, it means your operating costs go up because now you got to maintain it, you got to cut it, you got to turn the lights on. That's something that we have to deal with at budget time all the time. And we get constraints, we get pushback, we want the tax increases to be reasonable, so sometimes you get pushed and pulled. Sometimes the grass gets a little longer, sometimes it's a little harder to get to things, and we got to deal with the weather, and we do that. We're going into our budget process right now. We just set our targets now for staff to come back with a draft budget in early September, October. We start our budget process in earnest. But right now we said come back with a levy increase of 2%. Well, let's make sure you understand what that is. A levy increase is the total taxes that are raised by the city of Brockville. So that means that we'll increase that spending by 2%, but then we'll get about 1% real growth. So you raise 2% more money, but you spread it out over 1% larger base. So if it works out that way, then the actual tax increase on average is about 1%. That's lower than inflation. We've been doing pretty good in that process in the last 5-7 years. And it's a good process because then we don't have eccentric throw-ins like, oh, let's start the tax increase at 10%, be heroes and work it down to 2% or 1%. No, it's realistic. And it asks people to be realistic in their planning and what we do forward. Doesn't always work, but it's a pretty good process so far. So, yeah, well, that's Brockville. That's a little glimpse of it downtown. That's sort of a little mayor's rant. And yeah, like I said, it's not quite as good as this hour is 22 minutes, but hey, we're working on it. So, all right, and we'll talk to you next month. Bye-bye.